All right, thank you. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda for December 18th, 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Director Ponder, second by Director Blair. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. All right, board, our agenda item for tonight is to talk about contracting for a superintendent search firm. So just to give a little background for the public. So we did reach out to search firms. We did get 4 responses back in our timeline. Our timeline, as I said, in kind of the announcement, Dr. Rumpus's resignation is to be aggressive, and our timeline is to try to get this done by March for a couple different reasons. One, because we have CFO position to fill and the search for, and the future superintendent should be involved in that. But also we have teacher hiring in March, as Director Blair had pointed out in one of our conversations. And we want to make sure that they have stability and understand kind of who's going to be leading the ship, and who's going to be kind of the person in charge, and have that continuity, that there's continuity there, and know what they're getting into. So we thought that was important as well. So I know, board, I sent out some information based on the context that we got of the firms that were able to meet that timeline. We did get 4 of them. I will work with Ms. Hepler to get that posted after the meeting, after we clean up some of the data as far as like contact information and that kind of thing, so the public can see what those firms were. But I just wanted to put it up there. If there's any questions, I would recommend a motion to approve the president of the board to enter a contract with MSBA, Missouri School Boards Association, for superintendent search not to exceed $18,000, and expenses for up to $6,000 for potential candidate travel fees. That would be my recommendation, but open to the suggestions from the board and any commentary or thoughts, discussion around that and around the topic at hand.
I think they're great. I think they'll be a great person or group to have with us.
Do we have is that a full motion from you, Adam?
It's just a recommendation.
Recommendation, gotcha.
Recommendation.
So the other firm was School Exec Connect, is that right?
Yeah, so we had HYA, MSBA, Ray and Associates, and School Exec Connect for 4 firms. Yeah.
But School Exec was the only other one that could meet the timeline.
They all said they could meet the timeline. Some had some hesitancies and thought they may have to pull in other resources and had some hesitancies, but they all said that they could find a way.
So is your recommendation from MSBA versus another one just purely based on cost?
I think some of it's based on cost. So I don't see a reason why. So for the public's knowledge, School Exec Connect charged up to $30,000. MSBA is at $18,000. So part of it's cost, right? I don't know that there's a reason MSBA is known throughout the state. They know many superintendents. They're doing many superintendent searches in the past and many currently. So they have a strong background and track record, which seemed as good or better than any of the other candidates at a lower cost.
Have you heard any reviews about MSBA for this purpose?
I have tried to talk to a few people. I did talk to a former board member at Wentzville, and they said they were happy with MSBA when they did their search, and like just their reactiveness and how they operated. They were satisfied with them. I had a conversation with the president of Kirkwood, Kirkwood use School Exec Connect. They were happy with that service as well. So it seems that both services, some contacts were happy with the service.
I think it's a good look for us not to choose someone that's more expensive at this point.
Yeah, but there's also you get what you pay for side of it. But
Well,
I generally agree with that, Kaylee.
I would say they're experts.
Well, I think yeah, looking at their chart here. So are we confident that the superintendents that MSBA searches are finding for districts are the right fit, meaning they have above average tenure in the position? I mean, I'm looking here at School Exec Connect, and there's some start dates listed here. I don't see anything comparable to MSBA. I mean, MSBA,
think-
the way I see it, they have basically a lock on the whole state, and they're kind of always doing these superintendent search firms. So what I envision is they have some pool of the available people, or the qualified people, if you will. What frustrates me is that so many of these national searches, we end up, or districts end up finding, the best candidate was, wouldn't you know it, they were in the district, 1 or 2 districts over from where we are.
Right.
And
There was some conversation around that. So I worked with Carol a little bit on this. And so we had some conversation around that, and I went through and poked around Google searching, and I put some commentary on there. I think I put that in the email. And a lot of the candidates that did get hired, a large majority of them were local candidates to begin with.
Mhm.
So when we talk about national searches, it's hard because state law for education is different from state to state. So it's hard for somebody to come in from another state. It can be difficult to search and find somebody from another state that can come in, and then not only are they picking up the new school, the new area, also the new state laws.
Yes.
So, Adam, the matrix that you created for us, is that public, or can that be public?
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning. We'll clean that up, take out contact information and stuff, and then we'll publicize
Right.
that.
Because I think the public would benefit from seeing that, because it really is clear that I think School Exec Connect and MSBA are both good options. And when you look at all the different apples to apples, you can see where one might be a little better here, one might be a little better there. One piece that I thought was helpful was when you identified that MSBA is currently helping out Webster Groves and St. Joseph, correct? And they helped Columbia, and they found a local person for Columbia. But Schools that Connect found Kirkwood, Rockwood, Rittenhour, they're just starting. University City, Parkway, they just started. St. Joseph pops up on that too. I'm not sure why. But they both have some experience reaching out to the local area, like Radia just said.
So I am getting, or did we just get the live stream up, Scott?
That is correct. We've been sending out the public link for the Zoom, as well as the live stream is now going.
All right, perfect.
So President Bertrand, you will clean up the matrix you shared with us, and that will be uploaded to Board Docs at some point. And
Yeah.
But for the community who's just jumping in, there's nothing that I see in the matrix that appears to be misleading or prioritizing one over the other. It looks like just a standard cross section of what each of the 4 options were and where they are in all these different areas. And I appreciate that. It is a very helpful tool to help us make this decision.
Any other thoughts, commentary, questions, board?
Well, I think it's important here. So superintendent tenure is, at least in the state of Missouri, as we know, what's the average like?
I believe the average right now is
2.3.
2.3.
A little over 2, yeah.
2, yeah. So just over 2 years is the average. So I think all of us would love to have a superintendent for a good long time, but I think the reality is that we should expect that we'll be lucky to have someone for 3 in
Mhm.
this in the year 2024 or 2025 rather.
Yes.
Well, that,
I think it's important here that, so with School Exec Connect, we have, or the, just setting the district up down the road, if this person doesn't work out, then, we have we have some different guarantees here, if you will, between both MSBA and School Exec Connect. You guys are probably looking at those on your screen here, but
Randy, for those who are joining us live, could you identify the similarities between those two MSBA's
Oh,
and
sure.
the school exec guarantee in the event the superintendent leaves, just so they can see the similarities?
yeah, Scott, just so I'm crystal clear, were we not live streaming prior to
Yeah,
just?
there's a delay in getting the live stream out.
Okay, all right. We have Director Harmon.
We will be following up, just for clarity, we will be following up with the full recording.
Okay, we have the
Great,
full.
appreciate it.
So we are discussing which of the 4 firms that were reached out to go with here. So MSBA's guarantee is if onboarding services are utilized and the superintendent does not return for year 2, meaning they only make it 1 year, the new search cost is $1,000 plus staff travel. Whereas the cost for this first year is $18,000 and staff travel. The difference here is with School Exec Connect, if the person leaves for whatever reason within 24 months, additional searches at no additional fee except expenses. So that's a that's something I think that is important to consider here.
well, and also, as you mentioned, Randy, I think an important part of that too is the guarantee going forward that that particular firm will not try to poach that superintendent from us, right?
Right.
They are, it's kind of like attorney-client privilege. I can't help you here. I'm out. So you're going to have to go with another search firm to find you a home. So I think that's an important aspect of it too, considering this executive search firm is one of the premier ones in the land as well.
Yeah. Now the cost difference for the public's sake. So we're looking at $18,000 plus travel for the MSBA search, and approximately $30,000 plus costs, or travel costs and expenditures for the other strong contender, which is School Exec Connect. So say 12,000 give or take is delta here. I think this is obviously 12,000 is 12,000, but this is arguably one of the most important positions in the district. Not a place to cut costs, at least at this order of magnitude. So the costs aren't that far apart as far as I'm concerned. So there's.
Yeah, I mean, if you divide it up between, let's give any superintendent the benefit of the doubt and say that they're going to last 3 years on average here. We'll bump it up a little bit. So $10,000 a year is what ultimately we're paying for one versus $8,000 a year was what we're paying for the other. So when you split it up into that and take the overall cost divided by the years that they're there, it's a nominal difference.
Director Harmon, any thoughts? You've joined here.
I am just trying to gather where you guys are in the process. So
We're looking over the matrix, the chart.
Yeah, we're just talking
Yeah.
through mainly between MSBA and School Exec Connect.
And school exec, that's kind of where I thought you guys were. So kind of looks like a wash between the two, in my opinion, as to what I looked at.
All right.
What did
Everything
you,
else looks.
Director Harmon, did you hear our pros and cons to both? I don't know when you jumped in.
I jumped in probably 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
These are some of the conversation. And has the matrix.
Yeah, I do have the matrix.
I think one thing we're all wondering, and well, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to speak for everybody, but this is probably a pretty small candidate pool. And part of me wonders if we're going to get the same candidates no matter which firm we go through. Which then begs the question, do we really need a firm? But I suppose there's some value in having them do some of the initial vetting. Although I do think President Bertrand, I know we talked about this briefly, but is there provisions where we are able to see every applicant?
Yeah, we can set up the process however we want. We'll work. So one of the next steps would be whichever firm it is, put a contract together, then work with them on exactly what that process looks like, and kind of line that out, how it looks, kind of a plan of action, as you will.
I'm certainly happy to see whichever firm we go with, see their recommendations, but I would also like to see the full candidate pool as well, just as a check.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would say one of the benefits I see with MSBA is they have some really strong relationships with the other school organizations, so like the superintendent's organization, the administrators organization, and it's all their costs as far as posting jobs. It's all included in some of their costs. Again, I don't want to go back to just costs. I agree with that, but I think it's beneficial that they have a lot of good, strong relationships with some of those other organizations where candidates are involved, candidates are members of, or potential candidates are members of, that they can leverage as well. I would assume School Exec Connect also has some of those relationships. So in some regards, there's going to be probably a lot of overlap in capabilities between both of them, and so it comes down to, I guess, where we place some of the intangible benefits, maybe.
One question I have, and this is something that maybe both firms are the same at. I don't know if you've asked this. Are we paying these companies to literally just post the job apps on these different sites, and then they sit back and wait for the applications to roll in, and then they read them? Or is somebody actively searching?
No, I think they both go out and actively search and try to work. I would part of my envisioning of the process and looking at other processes that both these firms have gone through is working with the board to understand the district, pulling data for the district. In my head, we share with them all the work and data around strategic planning, around some of the roundtables, things like that with them, so they get a good picture and view of the district. And working with us, I'm sure they would talk with the board on kind of what that superintendent profile looks like. Like, what do we think? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses of the district? Where do we need to leverage the superintendent? That kind of thing. And then they should be going out and also searching and trying to find candidates that they know of, or asking around in the organizations that they have relationships with, looking for candidates that might fit that profile.
The other question is,
I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, again, I'm late, and I'm just curious because looking at the MSBA, I see that they're basically covering the advertising, but then they declare a March delivery can occur. So I'm kind of thinking that would require them to be proactive. And I would think they would have a database based on their recent searches. So
Yeah. They're going to have.
No, and I'm thinking, I heard you guys talking about the 2 years versus 3 years, and then understanding that the average superintendent is 2.3 years. So, I mean, they're covering, if you need to go for another one, the new search cost is $1,000 plus staff travel. If we have to, if we're require another search for year 2. So it's pretty curious.
Yeah, that's so MSBA. Yeah, they're basically giving their guarantee for 1 year, whereas the other
Yeah.
firm is for 2. Now the other firm is another $12,000, so that gets you more than halfway there to hire MSBA again. So there's that. The other concern I have is if they have some dedicated staff, you know, what is it, Carol? You may know this. What I think there was something on an recent MSBA email. There was 80 or 90 superintendent openings in Missouri. Did anybody see that?
I think I read that in the paper.
Yeah, this was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think I read that. I have to assume that MSBA is doing the lion's share of those. So, you know, you also run into the idea that do their recruiters have the capacity? You know, how busy are their recruiters is really the bottom line here. I don't
Well,
know.
if they said they could do it in the timeline we wanted, I'd say that they probably have enough people to handle it.
I have no doubt that they will find us 3 candidates. That anybody could find us 3 candidates by March. The question is how far and wide are their recruiters able to search given their workloads, especially in the months of January and February in the state of Missouri. So our timeline isn't the best, but we have, you know, we are where we are.
And it might not work. It might not work out because fewer and fewer people are wanting that job.
Well, yeah.
So I have I want to point out a question here. Adam, we use MSBA for some other functions, correct?
Yeah, we're members of MSBA. So
is there any other value for us to stay with MSBA for this purpose because we're using them for other purposes as well? Like, is there any reason that our longer relationship with MSBA would be benefit for them to lead this process as well?
Yeah, so I would say the only thing that pops out or comes to mind would be if MSBA is engaged in the future for additional training, which is part of what they include in the cost is like an initial training. They try to onboard the superintendent and get the superintendent and the CFO and the president together and kind of get them kind of coalescing as a team, if you will. But if they do any kind of future training, then they'd have that background. They'd already kind of be 1 foot ahead and getting that set up.
So where I'm at, the difference between 18,000 and 30,000 is a $12,000 difference, but in the light of how big our budget is, when it comes to like just finding the right person, really it's whoever we think finds the right person and not find the wrong person and say, well, we saved $12,000. We got the wrong candidate, but we saved 12,000. That doesn't quite carry very far. When I think about MSBA, I think some of the recommendations you mentioned, I've talked to other board members, different cities, and they said very positive things about MSBA. The one thing about school exec that I thought was interesting is under the notes you indicated, Adam, it says, quote, no lawsuits, 97% success over an 8-year period with superintendent receiving a second contract. Obviously, it's hard to double check that right now, but that sounds like they're pretty confident that the people they choose or help direct towards the school board leads to a very positive match and potentially a longer stay. At least that's how they're presenting themselves. So right now where I am, MSBA and School Exec Connect both seem like very good options. I think we'll be in good hands either way. But I just want to lift up those as 2 potential perks or pluses, one for each one.
Any additional questions or discussion or motions to be recommended or stated?
Did Carol lean either way?
No, she basically
Okay.
said it.
She didn't want,
She didn't want to. She said,
yeah,
"Here,
I
we
get
work
it,
together."
I
She
get
said,
it,
"Here's the information.
yes,
It's up to you
Yes.
guys."
yeah.
Can you blame her? Nope.
Well, I'll make a motion to engage School Exec Connect in the search of our next superintendent.
I'll
Second.
second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion board. Any additional discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
No,
Ayes have it. All right. Board, like a motion to adjourn.
Wait,
the
hey,
meeting.
Adam.
Yep.
Could you share, while we have people's attention, what next steps would be and where they can find information about the next steps?
Yeah, so right now, the next step, the main next step would be to engage School Exec Connect. And then from there, we'll work with them to put a kind of a more stringent timeline or action plan together on, and we'll probably be making it. I would assume we'd make that publicly available somewhere. We'll just have to find out exactly where, somewhere, potentially maybe on the website or something. I'll have to work with admin to do that. Overall timeline is execute in March so we can meet the needs of the district for teacher hiring as well as hiring of future CFO, et cetera.
Thank you.
Or like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.